Hey, welcome to Leaving. Hey, welcome to Leaving Crazy Town with Finn and Sarah. Today we're going to talk about how the past interferes with our current life, the present.
Yes, which is basically another word for it is called the human condition.
Or I call it triggered, activated, it's
I know, but
sometimes it's so subtle you're just living in an activation.
yeah, I mean, most humans, this is the thing, folks. Most humans live and die not even being aware that the past is basically controlling their present behaviors. And we're going to try to break down a couple of examples of how you can recognize, wow, is this really what is happening for me right now? And identifying that it's really about the past so you can have freedom in the present. Go, Finn.
Go, Finn. All right. Well,
Symptoms.
You may have heard symptoms. Symptoms? Insane. Well, you may have heard over and over again about my piano and all the trauma around Finn taking piano. Well, I grew up in a home where, you were the best or you were an embarrassment. That was said many times. You are the best or an embarrassment.
Wow.
A very sport mentality, win, win, win at all cost, or you're a loser. And you can only feel as good as your last victory.
Wow. Wow, that's intense.
And, there's abuse had if you did not do well. And I started taking piano lessons. Well, they're actually music and singing lessons. Yeah, and empathy really grosses me out.
I know,
from
I'm
my
sorry.
past
I
as
forgot
well. Hit me. Boom.
I forgot that.
No, I'm just kidding.
No, I'm kidding.
I had a therapist that used to do that. And I'd be like, nope, never sharing anything with her. I hadn't even shared anything real, and she was already going, and I was like, done. I made up crap for the rest of the time I met her. Anyway,
Another episode.
So I'm taking piano lessons, and it's in my house, and the first day the teacher comes over, and I just love her. I already told her I love her to the end of the universe and back, because she is a doll. She's the sweetest woman who is super talented and an amazing teacher.
Yes.
And I'm saying all that not after 5 minutes of lessons. I've had lessons for 7 months, and she's amazing.
Yeah.
And she has been through it with me, let me tell you. So she comes over, and I'm excited because I'm doing something new, and my dog's growling at her. And my dog continued to growl at this nice lady for 6 months. And it occurred to me it was because I was nervous. But anyway, I'm at the piano, and she's really soft-spoken and whatever. And I couldn't figure out for weeks on end, what is my problem? I'm so anxious when she comes over here. And I'm like, am I that excited or that fearful to whatever? And suddenly I was at the piano, and she's sitting somewhat behind me. And I had this feeling, I finally got in touch with it. I was afraid if I made a mistake, she was going to hit me. And let me tell you, if you met this woman, it's totally insane. And I just, over and over again, in this piano music journey for me, has it come up this same, and I had to keep I can't believe this word's going to come out of my mouth.
Right.
Self-soothing. I had this therapist who was self-soothe, and I'd be like, bleh.
Right.
Gross. But that's the truth. I had to remind myself, what are the facts? This wonderful teacher of mine is not going to hit me. You are not a child. And if somebody does hit me, hello, you don't spend time with them. You call the police.
Can I interrupt for 1 second?
Yeah.
Because also I think the thing you didn't say that I think is an important piece is the thing about the music. You talked about the sports and it all or nothing, but also wasn't there an event around...
Yeah, I was kicked out of choir when I was a child. And it was something that was one of my greatest joys as a child. But it was also not... my parents weren't the advocating type. They weren't going to go to school and be like, we know our child's hyper. It's because we beat him at home.
Right.
So it was a big loss for me. So there was a lot of anxiety around that.
Yes.
So I really...
so it was very charged.
Very charged, but yet I didn't realize how charged it actually was, because I was also very excited.
Yes.
And I was fearful, I'm doing something new and it's exciting. And but the level of intensity, started to become more and more apparent. And I I couldn't really enjoy myself.
Yes.
I thought I would enjoy myself when she was gone and I was playing, and I would still get really frustrated. And then a few weeks ago, I went and I played piano at church with her. We did duets or whatever. It's a lot of these like it was beginner one book. Everybody's like, what are you playing? I'm like, yeah, beginner one book, like 10 songs from it. With my teacher, and she played the more complicated part. And I was really fearful because as a child, if anybody knew really what I wanted, or I had a sense of hope, or I expressed a joy, it would be beaten out of me, and I'd be ridiculed. And, it's like the puppy, all excited to see its owner, and then you just kick it. That's how I felt. And I didn't realize how much that was actually activated in me around playing at the church, and also my idea of needing to be perfect and needing to win, needing to score. So I'm practicing like a maniac for months.
Right.
And
so let me just say one thing. So the thing is for you guys to remember and think about in your own lives is one of the symptoms when we have kind of an old activation is we kind of are super anxious. We don't know why. We might be irritable. We might be restless. We might be edgy. We don't know really what's happening. And Finn's... And
for me, it really came out as hyper.
Yeah, you were very wound up, and you knew you were scared, and you were like a mood swing too. Lots of old stuff was getting.
Oh, I literally went to bed a lot because I just couldn't
That's
feel.
Right.
I couldn't, and I really tried to take care of myself because I found being around a lot of people drained me very fast. I do a lot of service work. I was feeling exhausted from that. Any output just was not, I wasn't feeding myself. Everything was going out, and I just had no clue. And, I ultimately walked through and I go to the church to play, and oh God, it was awful. Like I messed up most of the songs until the last two. And it's very, and even my teacher talked about how she could feel me change. Like suddenly I just started to have fun. Yes. And I have to say, after walking through the fear and confronting this and recognizing what happened, it took me about, I spent a lot of time crying and purging and like letting all my childhood grief come out after the performance. And then after about 4 days, I started to feel joy around it. Like it was okay that I stepped in the spotlight and tripped. And then, nobody noticed, and everybody kept saying, no, nobody knew. And I was like, yeah, but that's not what was going on for me. It was personal. And I was able to allow myself to grieve the childhood stuff that now today I'm having so much more fun playing the piano. I feel much more relaxed around my teacher. I mean, I still messed up when she was here this week, but I'm able to like have joy around it. And I didn't even know I wasn't.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like I thought I was, but it really wasn't clear.
But so many huge things you've said. I mean, one is this, I sometimes think the degree of the anxiety or upset or intense emotions is comparable to the degree of the wound. And obviously this was like, there's a lot of history and a wound here that you wouldn't have even known or been able to process unless you were like, hey, I think I'll take piano lessons. I wanted to take piano lessons. And when we kind of take a risk and break through some fear, and I always say this, what happens is all of the reasons why we didn't do the thing in the past start to percolate. All those old wounds and the feeling that you have now getting beyond it. What a freedom. What a breakthrough that you would have never known. So that is just huge.
And so many people shared with me, especially my teacher, she said something to this effect, that a piece she had known her entire life, she went to perform once and she looked at the paper and the music and she said the sheet music didn't look familiar to me at all. And I had been playing it forever. And she said sometimes that happens. And I was coming at performing with my sport mentality where if you don't score, you lose. Right. And if you don't, and sometimes music not played well turns out to be new music invented or beautiful music. And I couldn't really see that because I was so embedded in the past.
Yes.
But today I can. Like I'll goof around a lot and I'll laugh. Like even when I practiced alone, I'd make a mistake and be frustrated, And now like I notice after I process that whole experience, I'll be like, oh, I made a mistake. And then I actually will just go off and play some weird thing that goes with the mistake, which is really, it's such a freedom.
Such a freedom.
And it allows me my creativity to come out without, I know it sounds crazy, but it felt like I was going to be physically harmed and my physical safety was in danger.
Yes.
And I needed to look at the facts and continuously remind myself, but then also say, hey, I was in danger as a child, and let those feelings come in and come out and process.
Yes. So a few great things to wrap up. One is what we talk a lot about is when you know something gets activated is when we're having really intense feelings. And that's something in sobriety, just being a human being, let alone codependency recovery, we always say here, part of what this work is about is learning how to tolerate being uncomfortable and being okay with it. And look at what Finn's talking about, the breakthrough and the freedom that comes from moving beyond the past into the present and having such joy. And just lastly, a really important piece when we're having those intense feelings, get support, talk to other people, and also take care of yourself.
And I'm a glutton for punishment. So my immediate thing after finishing on Sunday, even though I was traumatized, was when can I do it again?
Yeah.
It's a freedom, baby.
It's a freedom, baby.
We're out of here. Fasten your seatbelt.
Fasten your seatbelt. We're leaving.